Hi everybody, and welcome to the third video synopsis of an article from this book, Coaching for Leadership, by Marshall Goldsmith, Lawrence Lyons, Sarah MacArthur. And today we're going to talk about a very interesting article called Coaching for Behavioral Change by Marshall Goldsmith. Coaching for Behavioral Change by Marshall Goldsmith. See, most of the leading coaches across the world, like Ram Charan and Marshall Goldsmith, they have their own unique approach in coaching. They have their own school of coaching process, and they adopt their own unique coaching approach. In this article by Marshall Goldsmith actually talks about his unique approach. It's called the pay for results executive coaching process. Pay for results executive coaching process. Remember, most of the coaches actually charge clients as they go on in the coaching process. But here, Marshall Goldsmith says, listen, I'm going to charge you only at the end of the coaching process, only when you have seen the results, when the results are visible to you. So that's the very unique part of the coaching process that he has adopted. And in this process, he goes on to say, listen, my focus is when we form an agreement, there are focus on two things. The first thing that we focus on is the key behavioral change that the client needs to incorporate. And that client, and that behavioral change should actually be having a transformative effect on the performance of the person and transformative effect on the organization itself. And the second thing he focuses on in the agreement is the key stakeholders who are there in the system. For example, his manager or manager's manager or his colleagues or his down team. The key stakeholders in his progress in the organization. So these are two things. Remember, they look very unique. The first one may be common, but the second one is very unique. Hardly there is a coach who focuses on the key stakeholders. So the question arises is that when you have to pay for results and the results are going to come after a year or so, 6 months or down the line, the question arises and the need arises is that you need to have the right kind of the clients as coaches, as coaches. So how do you qualify a coaching client? So that's a fundamental challenge before Marshall Goldsmith in his coaching progress. He's very clear. Listen, I'm not going to identify a client who is just a go-go person in an organization. He should be a person whom the organization says that this person has a long future in the organization. He's not that one guy who just to satisfy, a person, we are going to have him as a coach. We are going to provide him a coach. But this person should have a future in his organization. And that's the person whom we are going to coach. And, so that's a very fundamental thing. And like when he says this. So, and in this case, he says, listen, we are not going to talk about business dynamics. We are going to talk about behavioral change. He says that at every level across the pipeline, demonstrable behaviors need to change, and we need to identify behaviors which we are going to focus on, and that can have a transformative effect. Besides, he tells, listen, when I'm going to select a candidate for the coaching process, there should be integrity is one of the most important things we're going to focus on. Any violation on integrity, we're not going to take it up. So Marshall Goldsmith is very clear. He is very clear that the kind of candidates that he's going to coach, it should be unique, should have a future, and should be a long-term, person with a long haul in the organization. And that's what kind of clients he's looking for. And mind you, he has actually demonstrated on this also. So the second thing that we're going to talk about is the key stakeholders in the coaching process. Now, who are the key stakeholders for such a client? It could be his manager or manager's manager, or it could be his colleagues, or it could be the persons who report to him. Marshall Goldsmith says that a person never performs on his own. The performance is directly proportional to the kind of impact the environment has on him. That means it's a systemic impact of the systemic impact that leads that has a performance impact on the person. It's important to deal on these system factors, that is, these people who matter to this person in his performance. So what does he want from these stakeholders? For example, the manager or the colleagues or the, you know, so he lists on the 4 important things, and that's very interesting to know that he tells his stakeholders. In fact, he coaches the stakeholders for some time. He tells them, listen, the first thing that's very important for you is to let go of the past. So whatever is the history of the coachee that he is going to coach with the stakeholders, I want you to let go of the past, and that's very important. So he encourages them to go. He encourages the stakeholders, forget the past. Let's focus on the present. The second thing is that he says is, be helpful and supportive, not cynical or sarcastic or judgmental. So he tells his stakeholders, the client, the coachee's stakeholders, listen, you need to be helpful, you need to be supportive. The coachee is going to go through a transformative change. There will be challenges. He will face challenges, and I want you to be supportive to him. I want you to be helpful to him. I want you to be a part in his journey of coaching. That's the third thing he tells us. Listen, tell the truth to the person. And tell the truth to me. Do not camouflage. Do not try to protect the person. Tell the truth. Be blunt. And it will only help the coachee. The last thing he says is, listen, pick up something to improve yourself. Pick up something. So you can actually, as a stakeholder, you can ask the client coachee, listen, what could I do to improve my working? What could I do to improve my situation? So if you keep on asking these questions, keep taking inputs from the potential coachee, what happens? You get idea and you develop. Apart from you developing, the other person, the coachee, also develops. Isn't it? So these are the 4 things he says. It's very important to involve the stakeholders and the manner in which you should involve the stakeholders. So in this article, Marshall Goldsmith actually goes on to list down the process in which his approach works, and that he does it very nicely. So I would not be going into the details of this, but it's very clear on this. So what he says is, listen, he is very clear that our focus is on behavioral coaching and our focus is on stakeholders. If you have a doubt that coaching works or not, can really executives change their behavior? Do you think the executives will change their behavior? I must tell you, yes, they will change the behavior. And it will happen only when the stakeholders are involved and only when you choose the right kind of client. If you choose the people who do not matter, who are just a go-go person, then this is not going to work. So, ladies and gentlemen, an amazing article, Coaching for Behavioral Change by Marshall Goldsmith. He talks about his own school of approach to the coaching process that he has adopted, called Pay for Results, and that's very unique. I hope you like this video, and I'm sure you'll be gaining for this. You could refer this video to colleagues who can have an understanding of what Marshall Goldsmith is talking about. So thank you so much, everybody.